Hey everybody, my name is Kamia Slaughter. I am the Secretary and Community Service and Engagement Chair at iRise Wellness. I also am a doc student and educational researcher.
No. Hi everyone, I am not a doc student, but my name is Devore McIntosh. I am the director of iRise Wellness. It's a newly appointed title, so it feels pretty good. And we're here to discuss asking for help and what it looks like and all of those iterations. So uh, join us and welcome us. I'll cut it out, don't worry. This is nice. So when we're talking about asking for help, I think the main thing we always look at or ask to ourselves is how do we ask for help and what does it look like and what are the proper ways to ask for help? So, Kamia, what does asking for help look like?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things for me is that like the keyword ask. So questions, not statements. And even for those closest to you, like, will you do this for me? Are you able to do this for me? Because of course, a lot of people have love for you and care for you and things like that, but it just may not be able to fulfill a request. So I think that's the most important thing, just to ask for help and just not expect it or demand it of and from people. And I think another thing is like written statements really help me too. And not initially, like, of course, you can like give me a call or a text and I'll respond, but I also forget. So a follow-up email or a lengthy text message with all of the information in there,
Yes.
yes, is amazing for me. And I just really appreciate that. What about you?
I think for me, the biggest thing is just don't be afraid to ask. I learned this when I was probably like in my 20s. I learned that I learned a little bit earlier when I was like asking women out to date. I'm just like, oh, I'm nervous. I don't know what's going to happen. But the worst thing that someone can say to you is no. So if you need help, just ask. And if someone says no or not at this moment, don't hold a grudge or be upset because they couldn't help you, but you don't know that person's journey or their arc in life or where they're at right now. And we'll talk about that later about what that looks like. So when you're asking for help, always be ready to hear no. Don't always assume that someone has to help you. I think that's something that I've learned, and I ask with grace and I add details. I don't just blanket ask, but it's hey, I need help in XYZ. Can you help me in the Z part? Because I have XY, but and I'm still learning to this day how to ask for help properly. Because I feel as though it's like it's something that's always evolving. And that's just on the personal side. So what would you think the biggest difference is between asking personally, like your home boy or your home girl, your cousin, your auntie, your mother, your father, versus professionally asking for help? How was that? How has that experience been for you?
I think one, I'm thinking about the what. Like when I ask for help from my friends and family, it's mainly will you do one of my like day-to-day at home tasks for me? Like, can you stand in this one thing or something like that? And professionally, I'm really looking to like see how I can spread out my workload.
Mm.
For example, if I know I have this big project happening and somebody is really good with writing literature reviews, well, can you handle this for me while I work on the rest? So that we can get this big project going. I think that's the biggest difference. But there are like a lot of similarities too, though. Like I always sort of lead with kindness, and I know intention isn't everything, but it is like everything
Yes.
to me. So I always like, smile on my face, just leading with grace and things like that. So that's important. And also timing, everybody
Yes.
values time. So if I'm always coming to you like, Devore, I need this in 2 days. Can you do this for me? Like, of course, maybe once a year you can like pull a string and like make something shake. But if I keep coming to you, it's almost like disrespectful and saying like I don't value your time and all of the sacrifices that you'll make to help me out.
Yes, like you don't want to be known as that person, you know. So like the one thing that I've come to realize is that your reputation is the one thing that you can't control, and you don't want to be in like a professional environment or personal where, oh, that's Devore, he always asks for something last minute. So that what people are just more inclined to tell you no because they know that it's not like a beneficial ask. It's like, so you had 2-3 weeks to do this task or something, but at the umpteenth hour, 18th hour, you asking me for help. Like, where were you 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? So yeah, like it's kind of disrespectful in person's time and acting like they don't have important things to do, or where's your care, like your personal care. So you obviously didn't treasure this assignment or this task or this thing that you had to do, but now you're trying to push it off on somebody else. So it's okay to ask for help, but asking too much can really lead to a feeling of just not responsible sometimes. And I think that goes into something that we're going to discuss later, but the capacity and understanding what you can control and what's on your plate and not trying to take on more than you can bear. Amen. But I think that's something that I've learned as I've gotten older, where my professional capacity has allowed me to think about my personal capacity and being okay to tell people at this time or at this moment, I can't assist you with this because I'm dealing with XYZ, and being okay with that. So I think that is something that I've learned professionally that has helped me personally with just understanding my own personal load.
I mean, absolutely. Like, and I think what you brought up is that sort of framing no doesn't always have to be negative. Like it really is a positive act to be able to say no, not right now, or no, not at this time. No, I don't think I'm the best person to do this, but let me recommend someone else. So I think we really have to like do a bit of ideological like shifting when it comes to how we think about and approach no. But yeah.
Not the ideological. That's a good word. So something that is kind of like sprung off into business is nepotism, and how families will, bring in their cousin, their brother in like roles and positions that, normally they wouldn't be able to fulfill so quickly on their journey. And we see it work in so many other cultures. When you go to certain establishments, you see from the grandmother to the grandson, like you might have 3-4 generations in an establishment or a business. But when it comes to us as Black folk, we always feel as though we have to get it out the mud or we have to grind. So what is this hold on us as a people, like the psychological hold that's like, we can't ask for help? What do you think that is? Because it's something that I always think about.
Okay, well, one, I would say just thinking about how people grew up. Like I grew up in a single parent household. I also grew up as an only child. So I'm used to doing things alone. And when I have to go outside of my limitations and capacity, I feel some type of way. Like it's like, oh, I'm not enough to get what I need to get done. It's almost like a bad reflection of myself. So I think that's my sort of approach to it. But in regards to like nepotism, I'm not anti-nepotism. Like I know people that put me on and I put people on. So I really appreciate that. And let me be more specific. Black people and Black women have put me on. So I can't really say that folks have been working against me in my personal and professional lives, because I have historically and contemporarily had some really supportive networks. But your thoughts?
One, that is tremendous to hear that people have lifted you up, because I remember reading The Soul of Black Folk, and like the boys' work really spoke to me on multiple levels. And I always thought about like the talented 10th and what that looks like, where it's only 10% of us can really make it and really push change, or only 10% of us are meant to be in these roles. But then as he evolved in his career and his life, he kind of shifted to like an altruistic viewpoint, where for us that have made or made into these roles to always look back and to pull each other up. So I can see that this has been something that this probably stems from slavery, most likely, about this hold on us. But I think that a lot of the forward thinkers of the 20th century, 19th century, they really thought about that altruistic pull. And I don't know where it shifted, where we aren't allowed to help each other out or put each other in positions to succeed, or even when you're selling Girl Scout cookies, help out somebody, little cousin over there, or something like that. So I feel as though that we really need to shift back to this mentality. And I'll be honest, I feel as though that it started with Black women. And because, you know, statistically, you are the most educated group in America. So I know that I see it all the time, that I see Black women always helping out each other, inspiring one another, and pushing each other up. And I feel as though, which always happens, just like when I think back to my days in college and you go to a party, if there are no people that you are interested in, particularly of the opposite sex or gender, what have you, you wouldn't show up. But now I think that a lot of men, and this is just my own viewpoint, we see like our women really uplifting each other. And I know me personally, I'm trying to emulate that. So I'm trying to break that, just, you know, that curse. And I can really say that historically, looking at that lens, that the curse really came from, you know, like Reagan's years and presidency, and like the influence of drugs and this war on drugs and the breaking up of the homes, even further back, the welfare system, just a whole bunch of historical context where it put a level of distrust amongst each other. Meanwhile, these other ethnic groups and populations, they always had that secret. And even like our African brothers and sisters, like they're really familial and they really help each other. So I think just changing that American mindset on what it means to be Black and to really push Black forward. And I think I've seen that tide turn the more that I involve myself in just educate myself about business and technology and other sectors. I see that we are moving towards being okay to ask for help. But I think it really hurt us for decades, and we are really behind the 8 ball, and we're really trying to catch up. But I know that our women are leading that charge. So I'll just say thank you in advance for that. And I was kind of long-winded, but yeah, that's just like my overall thoughts on it.
Yeah, see, I appreciate the answer, and thank you for those insights. I think part of that is also sort of reframing what we see as help. Like, I think historically we think about like money and the forms of money is the only way that folks can help us. But if we sort of think like, oh, this person can be a listening ear, or this person can contribute like really rich insights and expertise on the topic, then I think we can really expand who and what we sort of depend on as these sort of pinnacles of knowledge and like help. So, and that's when we think about like our communities and like our families and friends, and blurring the lines between like professional and personal. Think about the question ahead of, that you asked earlier. Like that's how I see help. Like I go back, like my family, I used to think like they were only here to sort of facilitate my success, you know, because I'm one of the babies in the family. But my family, like, they're so intelligent and bring so much knowledge, and just they've helped me with my work and stuff. So I've just sort of had to expand like how I see them. They're not just caretakers, they're not just nurturers. And I think Black women especially can get I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but just having a reputation of being like just a caregiver. And
yep.
in that way, we don't need to get stuck in that sort of light. So I've had to do some of that same work of just really placing value on the folks closest to me to see where they can offer me help in more ways than I initially thought.
Absolutely. And even as a black men are seen to be proud where we can't even ask our women for help. And me, I'd rather surround myself with a bunch of intelligent black women because I feel as though they'll be more focused on what needs to get done. And it's not that like that hyper masculine energy sometimes that like kind of butts heads. But I've seen a lot of success where you involve women into how, well, me personally, how I involve like women into my planning, and they have really helped push me forward. Not saying that my male counterparts and my male friends haven't helped me, but the perspective that women have, especially having to work so hard, you know, because as a man, it almost feels like you don't always need help, but I can't speak for women, but I feel as though that they're always seen as caregivers and nurturers where no one can help women because they're always helping someone else. And I feel as though that the incubation of this uplifting and the education of black women has really pushed like the culture forward. And it's kind of reshaping what it means to be successful, what it means to be a boss, like what it means to really like use your network, because your network is your network. And I feel as though that women aren't afraid to ask for help. Men can be extremely prideful. So even just learning how do I talk to people a certain way, like I've just really seen how my viewpoint on asking for help has shifted when I've leaned to black women and just just overall. I know I love black women. I don't care. That's it.
Yes, I feel like gendered and racialized insights are always essential to the conversation, but I can never just, I always go back to like context, and especially like in relation to place and space and things like growing up in a Black rural community, like strong ties are everything, like everything from baby to like the elderly folk. So I think just looking at like what it means to be a Black woman and also what it means to be in strong community, both literally and figuratively, is always sort of grounded how I approach help seeking. Like it's not just something that I may want to do. Like I really do feel like I need to help. Like I'm supposed to help. Like the work doing community service and stuff like this, the work that I'm supposed to be doing. I think everybody is supposed to be doing in whatever ways look best for them. So I think help like on the ground, like help for community and not just like one-on-one, but one on a group of people is also important.
Same. So some questions. Should you hold a favor over someone's head? Like say like if someone helped you and it's just like, oh yeah, so I help you now, you have to help me. Just a random question.
See, I don't think relationships need to be transactional. So no, it's almost like giving a gift, like you do it out of one, the kindness of your heart, but also just the thoughtfulness of that moment or like space that you're in. So absolutely not. But you also need to just have like a mental note of all the people and places that you give to. And if you don't see that you've been given to, and it doesn't have to be in the same way, if you don't feel like you're like receiving any type of anything, then what does that mean for their relationship? Like
Exactly.
Maybe it shouldn't go forth.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of it all, help should just come from just you wanting to be a good person or just good from your heart. So I think you should never approach the idea of assisting somebody or anything like that. Like, well, now I know that I'm gonna have this in my back pocket for when I need something. But I mean, I firmly believe that I just like to do acts of service, even if it's helpless or, like for myself. Like if there's no real benefit for myself, I don't mind helping someone else. Um, uh, I know people might say karma or what have you, but sometimes it just feels good to help and just really trying to break that, like that stereotype of being unafraid to ask and being a Black man that's wanting to help others, like without any like reciprocation. So I think that's just my overall goal in my help, like in my scheme of helping. And so far, so good. Work on some things in the future that I'm looking to make sure that at the end of 2022 is going to look real bright. And again, I'm unafraid to ask for help, so I know I'm gonna probably ask for some more assistance on the way up. But I always know that in the back of my mind that when it's my turn to help, I'll be there. So that's me.
Yeah, I really like that you mentioned acts of service, because when folks ask me my love language, I always tell them like professionally and personally it's acts of service. And they're like, huh? I'm like, yeah, like in my regular relationships, it's acts of service. And I think folks need to know that. Like I make time and I go out of my way sometimes to care for people, because that's how I expect to be shown attention and love and grace. So I do it to other folks too. So I think it's important to differentiate between like, how you expect your friends and your coworkers and stuff to deal with you in a sense, and not just like your like personal non-platonic relationships.
Absolutely. I agree. I don't know. I I think the overall message: don't be afraid to ask for help. The worst that someone can say is no.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I mean, unless you got more, I think we've actually reached our time. It's Look at that. Time flies when you're having fun.
I know. I see. This is fantastic. Thank you, Devore, for talking to me and spending this time with me. And we hope everybody out there listening just continues to ask for help. But yeah.
Absolutely. Please ask us because we are trying to be a helping hand to all that ask. So don't be afraid. Like, subscribe to the channel, and we have some big things in store for everyone. So
Bye.
keep watching. Bye.